She has been saying lately that she thinks that I am, quote unquote, not qualified to be president. I don't think that you are qualified if you get $15 million from Wall Street through your super PAC. I don't think you are qualified if you have voted for the disastrous war in Iraq.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's Bernie Sanders joining us on the Malzberg panel. Rick Ungar, senior political contributor with Forbes.com and co-host of Steele and Ungar on SiriusXM. And Seton Motley, founder of Less Government. Check out lessgovernment.org. All right, Rick, so your party is tearing itself apart. They're going back and forth, and they want apologies from each other, Hillary and Sanders. What's going on here?
Well, you know what I saw there? If you looked at it, I tend to think in sound bites and commercials. You just saw a Donald Trump ad in the general election, and he would be the one to take the most advantage of it because he hasn't taken PAC money, and he says he wasn't for the Iraq war. You know, this is the problem when people start behaving this way. If you look at what Hillary said, and she did not say he wasn't qualified. I don't think I've heard her say that yet. If you looked at what she said, that would not make a commercial for an opponent. What Bernie said would. Big mistake, Bernie. Shouldn't have done it. You shouldn't just rely on a Washington Post headline. You should read what's in the story.
Seton, of course, if Bernie Sanders really wanted to state why Hillary was unqualified to be president, the heck with the donation she gets from Wall Street. It would be about the emails and the files and her history and corruption and the Clinton Foundation and all that. But he won't go there.
And her incredible record as Secretary of State.
Let's not
forget that. She started more wars as Secretary of State than sponsored legislation than passed. Or it was a 3-3 tie, I guess. But no, she's got a horrible record, and I've always been of the mind, though, that the American people are adult enough to say, okay, it was a primary, and some of these things that are said aren't given as much weight. You know, oh, look, even Bernie Sanders said this against Hillary Clinton. And people, I think, discount it a bit and say, well, it was a primary. He was running against her. That's part of the deal.
Well, people who are savvy.
As damaging as Rick described.
Well, Seton, people who are savvy, I agree with you, but I don't think most of the electorate could even name Washington, who Washington, D.C. is named after.
I see the commercial.
All right, let's move on to, I want to put up the Daily News. This is 82. Put up the Daily News cover today. Ted Cruz is in town also. Take the FU train, Ted. And then he was he went to the Bronx to talk and to hold a press conference. And I don't know if this is the rapper or not, but a rapper came in there and started saying, this is an immigrant community. We deal with climate change every day, which I don't even understand. But then this guy in Spanish went after him. Watch.
Que venga Ted Cruz, que es un racista, que representa la supremacía blanca en nuestro barrio, no lo vamos a permitir. Es así de simple. Nosotros lidiamos todos los días con lo que es el abuso del ambiente, para que el día que no existe, no vamos a estar. Pero ¿por qué fue?
All right, you get the idea. So, Rick, first of all, let me get this straight now. Trump was responsible for the leftist violence at his campaign rallies, according to the media and the left. So shouldn't the Daily News, if anything happens, be responsible with their FU Cruz headline?
Now, I'm having a really hard time understanding why everything you just showed is so important to you. Some kid showed up. He didn't riot. He didn't do anything wrong. He voiced his opinion. The media found it interesting, and they ran it.
And the FU doesn't bother you?
I thought it was hilarious. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. What about it, Seton?
Okay, well, then no more lectures about Trump's tone of campaigning.
Well, the candidate didn't say it. A newspaper did.
Well,
you don't see a difference there?
The newspapers are the ones yelling at Trump about the tone of the campaign.
It's a newspaper, not newspaper, so maybe you want to say the Daily News shouldn't do it then. Although we all know the New York Post, which falls on that side, does the same thing.
You just said it was funny, so that means it should be okay for everybody to do it, right?
Seton, you know what? Let's keep it in its proper place.
Okay.
Yes, well, you know what? Let's do this argument, right? The New York Post has been running these kinds of headline stories against Hillary for as long as I can remember. They are affiliated with the conservatives.
FU?
Worse. Are you kidding? We've got the past editor of that paper right here in this room. He'll tell you. I don't care. This is not really what's going to make or break my country. If this is all you've got to argue about is that the Daily did something funny, You guys are in bigger trouble than I would think
Rick,
you are.
It's the tone. Obama's sick of the tone.
Let's
Hillary's
talk
sick
about
of the
New York-
tone.
then let's talk about New York
If you
Post
say
one.
F you,
Yeah.
which I can't think of anything more vulgar or up there as an insult or whatever, that tone is pretty disgusting.
It's funny because when Trump says things that are worse, you think it's
Worse
totally
than
okay.
FU? What?
Yeah.
Like what?
I won't use the word right now. I don't do that.
But worse?
on TV.
I don't think that's
yeah,
worse than
I think
FU
way worse than
to
FU.
somebody.
It's one of George Carlin's words you can't say on TV. FU isn't. The initials FU.
Well, the F word you can't say on TV.
Well,
that
it's
is
not
one
even
of Carlin's
the word.
words.
They didn't write the word. They wrote FU.
Very clever. They can't write the word 'cause
Trump,
you
on
can't
the other
use it.
hand, uses the
All right,
words, and you
final
think
word,
it's
Seton.
perfectly
Seton,
fine.
final word.
I just think it's absurd that we're going to get Trump's going to get yelled at for a month on tone, and then this paper immediately gets a pass.
When the paper
from the
runs
left.
for president, we'll yell
All
at
right.
that too.
Rick, Seton, great discussion. Thank you both very, very much. And if you see Hillary on the subway, Rick, give her directions. And up next, your viewer calls at 877 Newsmax. That's 877-639-7629.